Court grants UofT injunction to clear pro-Palestinian encampment. Quebec judge authorizes class action against English Montreal School Board over sexual assault allegations. 5 Iranians face deportation hearings from Canada. Anti-Syrian riots in Turkey. And Hurricane Beryl makes its way toward Jamaica with a path of destruction behind it. Good morning. It's Wednesday, July 3rd. I'm Nora. Here are your headlines. An Ontario judge has granted the University of Toronto an injunction to clear the pro-Palestinian encampment that has been on campus since May 2nd. Justice Marcus Conan ruled that the students have until 6 p.m. today, which is, of course, Wednesday, July 3rd, to take down the encampment. He also granted the Toronto Police the authority to arrest or remove anyone who doesn't comply. The organizers of the encampment, UofT Occupy for Palestine, responded to the judge's ruling in a statement saying this, quote, "The university's shameful attempt to use legal force to brutalize its students for the crime of protesting genocide will go down in history as a disgraceful chapter for this institution," unquote. In his decision, the judge said that the university made a strong argument that the students were trespassing on private property and that his decision did not infringe on the students' freedom of expression or assembly. Now, this is very worrisome that the university would convince a judge that the university is private property and students would be trespassing on private property. That private property is, of course, funded by those students, and it is actually not private property. University campuses are public property. So we need to keep our eye on how that continues to play out in common law. But it's possible that that decision will have massive implications, not just for the pro-Palestinian movement in Canada. The university requested the injunction after the administration attempted to remove the students from campus. In a press conference, the organizers of the encampment condemned the decision. They said that they would continue to fight for the university to divest from companies complicit in the ongoing genocide of Gaza. Next to Quebec, where a judge has authorized a class action lawsuit against a former Montreal school principal in the English Montreal School Board over sexual assault allegations by former students. The former students allege that Philip Hart Bognier sexually assaulted them when he was a teacher and principal between the 1960s and the 1990s. He worked at 3 different EMSB schools in that period. They are seeking $16.2 million in damages and interest from both Bognier and the school board. Bognier currently faces 2 charges for offenses allegedly committed between 1969 and 1971 in Quebec. Last year, the Ontario Provincial Police said that he had been accused of several offenses connected with sexually assaulting 6 students in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. Next, Stuart Bell with Global News is reporting that Canada Border Services Agency has launched deportation proceedings for 5 Iranians in Canada that the agency alleges held senior positions with the Iranian government. The hearings for these 5 individuals are being held behind closed doors, and the government has not released their names, which is unusual. The individuals could potentially face deportation under sanctions Canada imposed in 2022 that banned top Iranian officials, including Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps members, from the country. Last month, Canada added the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps to its list of terrorist entities. Now to international news, and first to Turkey, where violence broke out against Syrian refugees in the country's central Melikgazi region and spread to other areas. The riots started after Turkish police arrested a Syrian man accused of assaulting a 7-year-old Syrian girl. In reaction, Turkish residents set Syrian homes, vehicles, and shops on fire. Following the riots, over 400 people were arrested for their actions targeting Syrian refugees. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan condemned the riots, saying, quote, "It is unacceptable to burn houses, vandalize, and set street fires. Nothing can be achieved by fueling xenophobia and hatred of refugees in society," unquote. Anti-refugee sentiments have been on the rise in Turkey in recent years, particularly against Syrians, as the country has been facing a deepening economic crisis. Staying on anti-immigrant sentiments, Pakistan is set to start the second phase of its plan to deport undocumented Afghan refugees to Afghanistan. Last year, Pakistani authorities deported 541,000 Afghans in the first phase of the plan. The second phase would see them deport 800,000 Afghans. The country has defended the plan, citing security and a struggling economy as the reasons behind it. Human rights organizations have warned that these refugees could risk prosecution if they return to Afghanistan. Pakistan is not a signatory to the UN Convention that protects the rights of refugees, nor are there domestic laws that protect refugee rights. And finally, Jamaica is bracing for Hurricane Beryl's impact, which has caused widespread damage across the Caribbean. The hurricane started as a Category 5, which is unusual for this early in the storm season, but has been downgraded to a Category 4. Several people have been killed as a result of the hurricane. Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Grenada have all been impacted by the heavy damage caused by the hurricane. The intensity of this storm in this early in the season is the result of climate change. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in America had predicted an intense storm season because of the warmer ocean temperatures. Those are your headlines for Wednesday, July 3rd. I'm Nora. It's Wednesday. We're already halfway through this short week. Canadians and anyone else around the world, I guess, I don't know, your week was probably normal. You are listening to this podcast at sandynora.com, on the Real News Network podcast feed, and anywhere you get your podcasts. I really wish ill will upon all of the administrators at the University of Toronto that are trying to dislodge the student encampment, and that they would go to court and try and get the university to be deemed private property rather than just disclosing where they are investing student and taxpayers' dollars. God, it's really horrible that this is all being done to obscure the fact that there is a literal genocide ongoing against the people of Gaza. And with that, I'll sign off and talk to you tomorrow.